Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that some women just seem different, calmer, more grounded? The kind of woman who doesn't chase people, doesn't beg for attention, and somehow always seems completely at ease with who she is, even when everything around her is chaotic. Here's what most people never connect. A lot of those women love cats, and that is not a coincidence. Because a cat is not an easy animal to bond with. It doesn't respond to flattery. It doesn't care how popular you are, how successful you appear, or how hard you're trying to impress it. A cat sees straight through all of that. It responds only to one thing: who you actually are when nobody's performing. So the woman who earns a cat's genuine trust and love, she has something rare inside her, something most people spend their whole lives trying to develop and never quite get there. Today, we're going to talk about exactly what that is. 5 traits that almost every woman who truly, deeply loves cats carries, whether she realizes it or not. Stay until the end, because trait number 4 might completely change how you see yourself. Trait 1. She is deeply comfortable with herself. We live in a world terrified of silence. The moment a room goes quiet, people panic. They pick up their phone, they turn on background noise, they start a conversation just to fill the space. Because sitting alone with your own thoughts, with no distraction, no entertainment, no validation coming from outside, that feels deeply uncomfortable for most people, but not for her. Women who genuinely love cats have usually made peace with solitude in a way most people never do. She can spend an entire evening at home, a cat curled up beside her, no plans, no noise, no crowd, and feel completely full, not lonely, not bored, not like she is missing out, just peaceful. This is not about being antisocial. This is about being self-sufficient at the deepest level. Psychologists have a term for it: emotional self-regulation. It means the ability to manage your own inner world without constantly needing something from the outside to stabilize you. No constant reassurance, no endless stimulation, no approval from others to feel okay about who you are. Cats live this way naturally. They disappear when they need space. They return when they are ready. They never apologize for needing time alone, and they never explain themselves. Women who love cats tend to understand and respect that instinctively because they feel it themselves. And here's why this matters in real life. A woman who is comfortable being alone is never desperate for connection. She doesn't stay in relationships that drain her just to avoid being by herself. She doesn't shrink herself to keep someone around. She chooses her company carefully, and when she is with you, it means she actually wants to be there, not because she needs to be. That kind of security is magnetic, and it starts with being at peace in your own silence. Trait 2. She notices what everyone else completely misses. She will read you before you say a single word. The slight tension in your jaw, the way your smile didn't quite reach your eyes, the pause in your voice when you said you were fine. She noticed. She noticed all of it, and she filed it away quietly without making you feel exposed. Women who form deep bonds with cats develop an almost supernatural sensitivity to unspoken emotion, and it happens gradually through years of paying close attention to a creature that never uses words. Think about how a cat actually communicates: the slow blink that means complete trust, the flattened ears that signal fear, the tail that tells you everything about its mood before it takes a single step. To truly connect with a cat, you have to stop waiting for words and start reading energy. You have to become fluent in a language made entirely of subtle signals. And once you develop that skill, you cannot turn it off. It transfers directly into how she reads people. She picks up on the tension in a room that everyone else calls fine. She senses when someone is hurting before they've admitted it to themselves. She understands what you actually meant, not just what you said. Research on emotional intelligence consistently shows that people who spend time closely observing animals develop a sharper sensitivity to nonverbal communication overall. In simple terms, learning to understand a cat makes you dramatically better at understanding humans. This is why women who love cats are the ones their friends call first when something is wrong, not because they give the best advice, though they often do, but because they actually see you, fully, without you having to explain every detail. In a world where most people are only half listening, being truly seen is one of the rarest gifts anyone can offer. Trait 3. She never rushes trust. She will not pressure you. She will not push you to be closer before you're ready. She will not flood you with intensity and then wonder why you pulled away. She understands something that most people in today's world have completely forgotten. Real trust cannot be forced. It can only be grown. Every woman who has ever loved a cat has learned this lesson firsthand. You cannot rush a cat. The moment you push too hard, move too fast, or try to demand affection before it has been freely offered, it walks away. Not out of cruelty, simply because it knows the difference between real safety and performed patience. But if you stay consistent, if you show up calmly day after day without pressure or agenda, eventually it comes to you on its own. And when it does, that trust is completely real. She brings that exact understanding into every relationship in her life. She doesn't manufacture closeness, she creates the conditions for it and then lets it develop at its own pace. She is patient not because she is passive, but because she genuinely understands that anything worth having takes time to become real. Psychologists describe this as secure attachment, building connection through calm, consistent, pressure-free behavior rather than intensity or urgency. It is rare, and in a culture obsessed with instant everything, a woman who practices it naturally stands completely apart. Here is the quiet irony. Her patience makes her far more compelling than people who are constantly performing closeness, because you always sense the difference between someone who is genuinely present and someone who just needs you there. She is always genuinely present. Trait 4. She is quietly, unshakably strong. This is the one that surprises people the most. She doesn't announce her strength. She doesn't perform it or make a show of it. She doesn't need to prove it to anyone, including herself. It just exists, steady, quiet, and completely certain of itself. Women who love cats tend to have an emotional security that runs very deep. They can be soft and strong at the exact same time, and they see absolutely no contradiction in that. They can cry at something beautiful and walk into a difficult conversation without flinching. They can be gentle with others and firm with their own boundaries. They understand that tenderness is not weakness. It is actually one of the hardest things to maintain in a world that constantly rewards hardness. Cats are drawn to this energy like a compass to north. Cats avoid tension. They avoid people who are performing, who are anxious, who need something from them. But they gravitate toward calm, grounded presence almost immediately. They sense the emotional stability the way some people sense sunlight, instinctively before they can explain it. The women cats love most are almost always the ones who have nothing to prove, and that is not a small thing. In a world full of noise and competition and people constantly auditioning for approval, a woman who simply is who she is, without apology and without performance, is genuinely extraordinary. Trait 5. She chooses depth over everything. She is not collecting friendships. She is not interested in a wide circle of people who know her name but not her actual life. She would rather have 2 real relationships than 20 shallow ones. She craves genuine connection, the kind where you can say the true thing, not just the comfortable thing. Cats modeled this better than almost any other creature. A cat does not distribute its trust widely. It does not bond with everyone who walks through the door. But when it chooses you, when it truly, fully lets you in, that loyalty is complete and unconditional. Women who understand and respect that dynamic naturally carry that exact quality into their human relationships. She is not performing friendship. She is not performing love. When she is in your life, she is actually in it. She remembers what matters to you. She shows up when it counts. She tells you the truth even when it would be easier to say nothing. And because she values depth so much in others, she brings it herself, fully, consistently, without holding back the important parts. Here is the thing about all of this. It was never really about cats. It is about the kind of woman who is drawn to them, a woman who is whole on her own, who sees deeply, who builds trust slowly and loves completely, who is strong enough to be soft and grounded enough to never need to prove it. If you recognized yourself in any of these traits, even just one, that tells you something real about who you are. Drop in the comments which trait felt most like you, and if you want to see more content like this, subscribe, because we're just getting started.